Ranking every Stamin-Up location and hopping straight into our number 17 spot, we have actually got Buried. Possibly the first time Buried finds itself at the bottom of a list, but I have to say, this Stamin-Up location leaves a lot to be desired. Now first of all, Stamin-Up on this map is located right near Pack-a-Punch at the far end of the maze, which puts it about as far away from just about everything else on the map as you could possibly get, which matters a lot because in this video, the first criteria that I have for each ranking is based on how far away Stamin-Up is from either Juggernog or Quick Revive, with obviously the closest Stamin-Up is to one of those two perks, the better. And so with Buried Stamin-Up being so far away, it really is not able to compete with some of the other perks on this map, such as Speed Cola, Vulture's Aid, or even Double Tap, as these perks are just located in far more convenient spots. And secondly, the location itself has got to be one of the most uninteresting and least memorable spots in all of Zombies. Which brings us to the second criteria for this video. Is Stamin-Up located in a cool, unique, or memorable spot? Or is it located in a more boring and uninteresting area? And Stamin-Up on Buried absolutely takes the cake for being in one of the most forgettable spots in all of Zombies. Firstly, it doesn't help that here, Stamin-Up is almost completely outshined by Pack-a-Punch being the more important centerpiece of this area. And secondly, it is right off the main pathway and located behind the Pack-a-Punch area. I mean, it looks as if they're almost trying to hide it, as if it's not even supposed to be on the map in the first place. Like, come on. It's one of the better perks in Zombies. It at least deserves to be shown off a bit and have a better area on the map. But yeah, I kind of expect better from a map like Buried, I'm not gonna lie. And so the distance of Buried Stamin-Up being so far away from the main perks on the map, and also the boring location, is the reason why it finds itself at the bottom of our list. Alrighty, coming into our number 16 spot, and let's be honest, we all knew it was going to be around here somewhere. We have got Transit. Now, with me putting Transit's Juggernog at the bottom of the ranking Juggernog locations video, Stamin-Up will inevitably be ranked in a similar way, as it is in the same part of the map as Jug. And I will say straight away, the only reason that it is not at the bottom of our list is because it is within fairly close proximity to Jug on Transit. But other than that, almost everything about this is terrible. First of all, it is in the last area of the map that you get to, being the town, which is honestly ridiculous when you think about it. Because A, it is ages away from Quick Revive, and B, if it was located closer to spawn, like in the sort of diner area, it would make the early rounds a lot more tolerable on this map, as obviously Transit has got some pretty hefty distances that you have to cover, and so being able to get Stamin-Up early would allow you to get more things done in each area before the bus leaves. And secondly, the location itself is not really anything of note either. I mean, it is Transit, so everything automatically looks a million times worse, but it's also just a boring location in general. I mean, it's just some boring abandoned building that you never even think about entering unless the box is there. And even when you do have to go in there, you won't even realize that Stamin-Up is even there, because it's like kind of tucked away in this like tight little corner. And so yeah, once again, I mean, it's not really that surprising, is it? But Transit finds itself towards the bottom of yet another list. Coming into the number 15 spot on our list today, we have got Der Eisendreieck. Now firstly, Stamin-Up on Der Eisendreieck is located basically right near the power switch, which is probably about as far away from both Juggernog and Quick Revive as you could possibly get on the map, as both Jug and Quick Revive are located quite close to each other at the sort of bottom of the castle area, and Stamin-Up is located right at the top. So they're essentially opposite sides of the map, which is certainly not a good thing when you consider the fact that both Double Tap and Speed Cola are located considerably closer to both Jug and Quick Revive, which certainly doesn't help Stamin-Up's case. But also, the power area where Stamin-Up is located is, I would argue, the most boring and forgettable part of the map. I mean, the only relevance it ever has during the game is obviously turning on the power, and it does have a wisp spawn as well during that one step in the Easter egg. But other than that, there is really nothing going on in here, and it's just another typical power room. And so, Stamin-Up's distance from both Jug and Quick Revive, as well as the boring location, is why Der Eisendreieck comes in at the number 15 spot. Righto, so coming into our number 14 spot today, we have got Firebase Z. Okay, so for the Cold War maps, we are only going to be looking at the proximity to Juggernog, as Quick Revive in Cold War doesn't have a self-revive effect. But anyway, the issues that I have with this location are basically identical to Dryzendruk. So Stamin-Up and Jug are both located around the sort of helipad area. However, they are quite literally on complete opposite sides of that area, which does make it a bit of a pain in the backside when you're going to collect all your perks. But mind you, they aren't as far apart as what they are on Dryzendruk, which is why I've put Firebase Z the spot above. And then secondly, the spot itself again is just really boring. I mean, it's just kind of sitting in the darkness in this back corner of one of the 3 power spots. Really nothing special at all. I mean, I think it would have been cooler if they instead placed the perks on the outside of each power room, as it's a lot more colourful and vibrant out here, and I just think they would have fitted in a lot better. But obviously, as that's not the case, Firebase Z comes in at the number 14 spot. Rightio, ladies and gentlemen, coming in at our number 13 spot today, we have got Moon. So firstly, Moon's Stamin-Up is located about midway through Tunnel 11, which is not too far from spawn, but I feel that this is by far the tunnel that I use the least when I'm playing Moon. I'm not sure if it's the same for everyone else, but me personally, I almost always use Tunnel 6, and so I pretty much always forget that Stamin-Up is even on this map, which is really not great because Moon is probably one of the most important maps to have Stamin-Up on, just with all the running around that you have to do, and especially for the Easter egg. And so having it in the lesser used of the 2 tunnels really, I think, is not a good thing. And secondly, my word, is this tunnel just super boring and dull to look at. I mean, it's just so dark and grey in here that I just never have any interest in stopping by to grab Stamin-Up, even when I am going through Tunnel 11. And again, I would just argue that this is easily the most boring part of the map. Like, I'm not entirely sure what Stamin-Up has done to deserve this kind of treatment, but I'm certainly not a fan of it. And so yeah, for similar reasons, once again, Moon comes in at our number 13 spot. Coming into the number 12 spot on our list today, we have got Ascension. And I just want to say quickly, ladies and gentlemen, please do not take this as an objectively ranked list, as all the rankings on this list are basically just my own opinion. But anyway, into Ascension. Now firstly, Ascension is a bit of an interesting one, because out of all of the perks on Ascension, Stamin-Up I believe is the closest to both Quick Revive and Jug, or it's at least one of the closest, but it certainly does not feel this way. And that is because this area of the map where Stamin-Up is located is easily the most irrelevant part of Ascension. Like for one, this part of the map is always a bit of a hassle to head out this way to go and buy Stamin-Up. And I mean, I can only think of 2 reasons why you'd ever be out there as well. And that would be either for the Lunar Landers, for when you're trying to open up Pack-a-Punch, or for the Easter egg. So that certainly isn't great. And secondly, again, this part of the map is just so dull and boring. It just kind of feels like a filler area of the map. And I mean, especially when you consider that at the opposite side of the map, there's this huge rocket launch area, which just completely outshines just about everything else on the map. And so yeah, while it's certainly not horrendous like some of the previous mentions on our list, it really is not anything special either. And I think there are a few better spots that they could have chosen for Stamin-Up, which is why I've decided to put it at the number 12 spot. So coming in at our number 11 spot today, we've got Revelations. Now, Revelations is a bit of an interesting one, because firstly, its location on the map is kinda awkward, and that more or less comes down to Revelations' layout. So it is very close to Quick Revive, as it is on the adjacent island, and pretty much right near the jump pad, which you might think is obviously a good thing, but the problem is the area that Stamin-Up is located in is pretty irrelevant in terms of the way that you move around this map. Because when looking at a map of Revelations, almost all the travel between the islands occurs via the central Nocturne area, as it is obviously the fastest way to get between areas and it's the most convenient, which also just happens to be where Juggernog and the entrance to the Pack-a-Punch area is located. And so when you look at where Stamin-Up is on the map, you can see that there are not a lot of situations where you will find yourself going past it, unless for instance you're doing the Easter egg or the mystery box finds itself there. However, I will give some props to the location itself, as it is located in the Shangra part of the map, which is naturally quite picturesque, and it is also located where Quick Revive was on Shangra as well, which interestingly makes Stamin-Up the only perk on the map that is located where a previous perk used to be. So I think that's pretty cool, and it's a nice throwback as well to Shangra. But overall, this Stamin-Up location is a little too far out of the way for my liking, which is why it finds itself in the number 11 spot. Rightio, so coming into our number 10 spot today, we have got Origins. Now firstly, it must be said that Stamin-Up on this map is located a fair distance from both Jug and especially Quick Revive, as it is located in the center part of the map, which is the same as Jug. However, it is located on the complete opposite side, which I mean is not the worst thing in the world, but it's enough to be annoying and feel a little bit out of the way. And the area itself, I mean, it certainly isn't irrelevant. Like, you've got a Windstaff part there, you've got Gem 5, and it's also a key location during the Easter egg, but at the same time, it's not really a part of the map that springs to mind when you think of Origins. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this is a terrible Stamin-Up location, it's just very average, and to be honest, a little forgettable. And so overall, when you balance all those things out, I think it slots in nicely around the middle of our list. And coming into the number 9 spot on our list today, we have got Call of the Dead. Possibly the most interesting pick on our list, as I personally believe that the Call of the Dead Stamin-Up location has got simultaneously the best and worst attributes of any Stamin-Up location. So first of all, the proximity of Stamin-Up on this map from Jug and Quick Revive is probably the worst out of any map. I mean, it is just absolutely miles away from both, and especially Juggernog. Like, they are quite literally the definition of being on opposite sides of a map. And so whenever you go down, Stamin-Up is so far away from both that it's almost not even an option to go and grab it again, because it's just so far away. So that's obviously not great. However, in terms of the location itself, it is my personal favorite Stamin-Up location out of all of Zombies. And to be honest, I can't even really put my finger on why I like it so much. I guess it's because the first time I ever played this map, I didn't even realize there was another area behind the lighthouse. And when I realized, it kind of gave me that feeling of exploration. Like, there's this hidden extra area behind this big lighthouse, and right at the back of it, you will find Stamin-Up. And at the time, man, that was like the coolest thing ever to my younger self. And like, I almost wish they held off releasing this perk in Ascension and instead introduced it here. I mean, it would be a great way to introduce a new perk. And so with Call of the Dead having both really good and bad qualities, I think it fits right in around the center of our list. So coming in at our number 8 spot today, we have got Forsaken. And so once again, with this being Cold War, we are only looking at its proximity to Jug. And to be fair, this Stamin-Up spot is located very close to Jug. I mean, it essentially takes about 10 seconds to get from Juggernog to Stamin-Up on this map, as they are in neighboring areas, which is obviously great. And now I understand that the existence of Wonder Fizz in Cold War basically removes the need for perk locations entirely, which, side note, is one of the reasons I just despise the Wonder Fizz in this game, but I'll get into that in another video. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just pretending that the Wonder Fizz on Cold War doesn't exist. Now, secondly, however, the spot itself hasn't really got much going for it, which, to be honest, I think just derives from the map's boringness as a whole. But Stamin-Up is just in another one of the many buildings on this map, which in my opinion are all pretty forgettable and don't really have a lot of character to them at all. And so while the location itself ain't the best, it is still very close to Jug, and for that reason, Forsaken comes in at our number 8 spot. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, coming into the number 7 spot on our list today, we have got MaDeToen. Now, Stamin-Up on this map is, I believe, either the closest or at least the second closest to Jug, but either way, it's not that far, with them essentially being in adjacent buildings, which is great. And it's also in a part of the map which I find myself in a fair bit of the time whenever I'm playing this map, so that's obviously really good. But I will say that this area is quite cramped, so going down here is always a bit of a threat, but overall it's pretty solid. And second of all, I actually think this is the most memorable perk location on MaDeToen, and I think that's because I pretty much always go this way after spawn, so I'm always seeing it at the start of the game. And it's also because it's near where you open up that secret room for the wonder weapon, which I think is pretty awesome. And so overall, the Stamin-Up location isn't anything too crazy, I don't believe, when compared to the maps that we've got coming up, but it's overall just really solid, which is why I've decided to put it at the number 7 spot. Rightio, coming into our number 6 spot today, we have got Shangra. So first of all, Shangra has got 4 random perk locations where Stamin-Up could spawn. But despite this, the nature of Shangri-La's layout means that random Stamin-Up locations are really not that much of a problem. Which is pretty surprising if you think about it, because both Jug and Quick Revive are found at the top part of the map, and all the random Stamin-Up locations are near the bottom. But that's because of just how well all the different parts of Shangri-La are connected together through things like the geysers and the water slide, which make perk locations feel like they're almost right next to each other, even though they're on complete opposite sides of the map, which is really great. But I will say that the perk locations themselves unfortunately are nothing too special. I mean, most of them are just located in dark, isolated corners of the underground area, which really are quite dull when you compare it to other parts of this map. Like, don't get me wrong, it's still Shangri-La, so it still has decent visuals no matter what. But in terms of the map itself, I believe that there are just so many other better spots that they could have chosen instead. But overall, Shangri-La still has great Stamin-Up locations, and it comes in at our number 6 spot. And coming into our number 5 spot today, ladies and gentlemen, we have got Zetsubo no Shima. Now, first of all, there are 4 spots on this map on solo and 5, I believe, on co-op where Stamin-Up can spawn in. So it's important to bear in mind that these Stamin-Up locations are random. But I think the random perks on this map are just done really well. And what I mean by that is, despite the random perk locations being scattered all around Zetsubo no Shima, pretty much all of them are in locations that have some sort of relevance within the game, or at least are not too far away from the main parts of the map, which is great because it ensures that each perk kinda has a fair chance of being chosen over the others. And secondly, I think personally some of these perk spawns are some of the most iconic in all of zombies. I mean, whether it's the one by the spider boss entrance, the one in the bunker, and even the fact that some parachute out of the planes that fly overhead, a lot of them are actually pretty iconic. And so for those reasons alone, I believe that Zetsubo's Stamin-Up locations deserve to be in the top 5 on our list. So coming into our number 4 spot, ladies and gentlemen, and the highest for Cold War, we have got D Machine. Now firstly, Stamin-Up on this map is located very close to Jug, and in fact I believe it is the closest perk to Juggernog as well. But not only that, it is also located near pretty much all the main parts of the map, which is really convenient. And the only area I would say it is pretty far from is obviously the Pack-a-Punch / power area of the map, but personally I do not even find myself down in that part of the map too much anyway. And secondly, I actually really like this location as well. I mean, it's located in the Nocturne area of the map, which automatically brings some nostalgic vibes with it, and it's also the perk that you always see first as you're progressing through the map towards the power area, which I think makes it pretty memorable and iconic as far as D Machine is concerned. And so overall, it's just a great spot to have a Stamin-Up location. And so D Machine comes in at number 4. Alrighty, coming into our number 3 spot today, we have got the Giant. Now, I bet a lot of you had forgotten about this one, but man, is it just so good. So first of all, the location of Stamin-Up on Doris certainly is not the greatest, but it's still pretty solid. I mean, it is a little out of the way. You typically don't have to go down there much after setting up, and it is quite far from the catwalk, but it is quite close to Pack-a-Punch, and it at least gives some more relevance to that area of the map. But the main reason it finds itself here is because of the nature of the location. And if you don't know, this Stamin-Up location is actually hidden until you complete a mini side Easter egg with the monkey bombs, where it is then revealed by lasers coming out of the robot's eyes that melt the snow around the perk. I mean, is that just not the coolest way to reveal a perk ever? Like, I honestly think things like this is what just makes zombies so much more enjoyable as a game. Now, I will say, however, that you only have a 50% chance of getting Stamin-Up here, as it will either reveal Stamin-Up or Deadshot Daiquiri. So there is that as well to keep in mind, but I don't think that even comes close to taking away from just how much I love this Stamin-Up location. And so in the end, the Giant comes in at our number 3 spot. Alrighty, coming into our number 2 spot, ladies and gentlemen, we have got Garod Crovey. Now, this is actually quite an interesting pick because at face value, there does not seem to be really anything too special about this Stamin-Up location. But the more I look into it, the more I realize just how good it actually is. So firstly, it is the second closest perk to Quick Revive and Juggernog after Mule Kick, but the important part is that this location is considerably closer than both Double Tap and Speed Cola to Jug and Quick Revive, which, as I've kind of mentioned before, is I believe key for Stamin-Up's ability to compete with both of those two perks. But it's also just located in a very central part of the map that I find myself going through a lot and is never too far away from anywhere else on the map. And as for the location itself, while yes, there are certainly more interesting spots, I still think it's got a bit going for it. I mean, it's near one of the mystery box locations, it's right next to one of the spots where those pods usually come down that you've got to defend, and it's just a nice and bright area that I personally really enjoy. And so admittedly, yes, for quite a few personal biases, I have still decided to put Gargoyle at the number 2 spot. Alrighty, and here we are, ladies and gentlemen, taking the reins as the best Stamin-Up location in all of zombies. It is none other than Shadows of Evil. Now, first of all, I feel that no matter where Stamin-Up is located on the map, it'll be in a decent spot in some way. And I think that is due to just how well Shadows of Evil is laid out and how all the different parts of the map are connected together. However, despite this, I do not believe that they could have possibly chosen a better spot on the map to put Stamin-Up, as it is located in the center junction area that connects all the districts, so it is naturally close to Quick Revive and is never too far away from where Juggernog could spawn. But with it also being in the center part of the map, it has a natural advantage over Double Tap and Speed Cola, as it will almost always be closer to the player, which is exactly what Stamin-Up needs to be able to compete. But I honestly think that this is also one of the most iconic perk locations of all time. I mean, it is the first perk that you see leaving the shadow spawn, so it is a common sight in early game, but you are also having to go past it all the time as you are setting up, and it's just in a very picturesque part of the map, which I appreciate a lot and am grateful that this perk is given a spot that it so absolutely deserves. And so in the end, the Stamin-Up location is just too practical and iconic to be anywhere but the number 1 spot. Thank you very much for watching the video, ladies and gentlemen. Feel free to leave a like, comment and subscribe, and stay tuned for another video next week. Bye for now.